Hello again, this is Mark Wilson with FunctionPoint. Thanks again for joining our webinar today. We're going to get started now. You'll notice that there is the opportunity to ask questions through the webinar software, so I do encourage you to do so. I most likely will not answer them as we go, but I will go through the questions towards the end. So any questions that we do see towards the end of the webinar, I will address them at that time. So the purpose of today's webinar is to provide a high-level introduction to the FunctionPoint system. Some of the basics of the navigation, an overview of what the system's all about and really what it's meant to be doing for your agency. So we're going to be looking at things at a pretty high level and not drilling too deep into the actual functionality of each module in the system, but making sure to touch on some of the key points. So let's get started. So right now we're looking at a demonstration version of FunctionPoint. We're looking at the dashboard of the system. FunctionPoint is an all-in-one agency management system designed to handle the entire creative process. So it's handling everything from your CRM through companies and their subcontacts, managing notes, communications, creative briefs or requests, schedules or timelines that need to be created with their tasks that are associated with those, projects that need to be done, jobs that you need to manage, estimates and quotes that need to be created as well, expenses that need to be tracked against jobs, all the timesheets for all employees, and of course invoicing that you're sending to your clients. FunctionPoint does have a very robust reporting module as well, with reports for all areas of the system. Right now we're looking at the dashboard of FunctionPoint, and it's the first screen that you see when you log in. The system, of course, will have your banner along the top section here as opposed to ours. The dashboard that we're looking at right now has timesheets, jobs, a message board or pin notes, and tasks and to-dos. This dashboard is really meant for individuals to be able to quickly track time against the jobs that they're working on and the tasks that are assigned to them without having to jump around a bunch of different screens in the system, and also being able to look at communications that are being submitted to them as well. Now, each user does have the opportunity to customize their dashboard and create their own custom dashboards with their own layouts, their own styles, showing the information that's important to them and the structure that they need. You are able to create multiple custom dashboards and click through them simply and easily so that you're able to have different views set up for different things that you want to see. Being able to switch them back and forth easily allows you quick access to different areas of the system without having to move from the main page. Let's take a look at some of the navigation through the system. Each module in FunctionPoint works in a very consistent way. You'll typically see a find, a view, and an add. It's just ways of navigating throughout the system and also quickly taking action. Understanding the navigation through one area of the system will typically allow you to understand the navigation through the rest. There are a few areas that work a little bit differently. Expenses, for example, is broken down into two sections, external and internal. Each has the find and the add. Some areas will have some extra tools. Tasks, for example. While we see the find, the view, and the add, there's also a couple extra tools that you can access. But for the most part, the find, the view, and the add are very consistent for each area of the system. Let's take a look at jobs to start off with. I can quickly add a new job in the system. View will show me lists that I've been working on recently and allow me to quickly navigate to one of those. Whereas find will bring me to what we call a find screen. Every aspect of the system has a find screen. It's just a group of fields to enter information to find what you're looking for. Very simple to use. You'll notice here that we have a bunch of fields that are specific to the area that we selected. Since we're doing a job find, you're seeing things you would expect. Job type, job status, job number, and so on. Now you'll notice at the bottom, on the right side, we have a button that says Find Active. Selecting this will produce a list of every active job in the system. But we can do some other neat things here. We can select multiple statuses, for example. Holding the Control or the Command key will allow you to select multiple items in these types of multi-selection lists. We can use other things, like I said before, type and number and so forth. But there's some neat search tips that we can use here as well. You'll notice that they're listed on the bottom right. This allows us to do some creative things like date ranges. Delivery date, for example. I may say, well, I want to look at all the jobs due between today and the next 6 weeks. Now, anytime you have a date field, typing in short forms will be accepted. Leaving the field and actual dates will fill in. You can type in pretty much anything you can think of. I could type in the word tomorrow, leave the field, and we'll fill in. Of course, if you prefer, you can always put your cursor into the field and select from the calendar. This will populate a date for you, to which you may add a search tip less than, greater than, for example, can be used. Or again, we can use a range. Let's do what I was saying earlier. Let's do from today to 6 weeks from now. Select find, and that produces the results of our search. So there's 18 jobs that meet that search criteria. We can see the client, therefore, name of the job, the type, the due date. There's an option to open up these fields if we want to edit the statuses or enter a comment as to where the job stands. And this allows staff people to state in their own words where the jobs stand that they're working on. We can then see some budget information, budgeted hours, actual hours, and the variance of that information. Different staff people may have different views. You may prefer a financial view. You may want to see your budgeted dollar values, your actual dollar values, how much you've invoiced, and the variances. Function Point is a permission-based system, so you can control who can and cannot access each area of the system and what they can and cannot do there. Up along the top, you'll notice that we have a series of buttons. These are the different actions we can take with the information that we're looking at. There's some simple options like producing a report. This will give us a nice PDF report that I typically refer to as kind of like a Monday morning, where do all of our jobs stand kind of report, showing us each job organized by client with the status and due date, comments, and budgeted actual and variance on hour information. Of course, this report, like any other, would have your own logo and branding to it as opposed to ours. And there's a variety of other reports that are available here, including the option to export the data to a CSV or Excel document that will give you a master export with all the information of the system relating to the items in your list. If we were to drill into one of these jobs, I'm going to find one that I think would be a good example. I'm going to select this logo development job here as my example. Clicking on the name of the job will bring us into the details page of the job. The details page is very consistent throughout the system. It's something that you will see throughout the system, and the layout is always the same. Notice that up at the top left, we can see that we're looking at a job details page. If ever in Function Point you're looking at a page and you're not quite sure where you are, the top left corner will always give you the title and let you know where you are. Furthermore, beneath that, you'll notice a breadcrumb. The breadcrumb allows you to see the items that relate to what you're looking at. We're looking at a job called Logo Development and Letterhead. It's for a campaign or project called Burrard Identity, which is for our client called Burrard Street Golf. Selecting any of these items will navigate you to the details page of that item. I mentioned earlier about the consistency of the layout of this page, and it's something we do put a lot of focus on, is the consistency of the layout of each page. The details page has action buttons up along the top right corner. Any action you may wish to take with the information that you're looking at. Typically, if you're looking at an item in Function Point, whether it be a company or a task, a contact or a job, you'll typically be looking at its details page. If there's some action you wish to take with that information, you're going to find that action in the action buttons along the top right corner. The specifics are then in the middle, information you would expect, such as the description of the job, the due date and type, the status, and other key dates, such as if it was revised or when it was open, and so forth. We then have any relating information below in these tabbed inserts, and this is something you'll see on every details page as well. Any information relating to the item that you're looking at will be available below in these different tabs. For a job, we have quite a bit of information that's available here. We have contacts. These can be contacts of your client, internally, and also third parties. So you could include vendors. You could include contractors or freelancers, anybody that you'd like to include here. We have notes communications. So any notes have been entered against the job, comments against those notes. We have briefs. The create a brief section could be used in the form of a work request. It could also be something that uses more of a traditional creative brief. Selecting this item will navigate us to the brief in question. You may have multiple creative briefs for a single job. We have the schedule. The schedule is showing us each task, its description, who it's assigned to, budgeted hours, actual hours, percentage complete, when it's starting, when it's due, whether or not it's been completed, its status, priority, if it's related to a milestone. The amount of information you enter into a schedule is of course up to you, but all of it will be available here. Each of the line items in that schedule becomes a task. Those tasks will be listed in the Task tab. Each of these tasks has its own task details page. Notice that hovering over the task allows us to see the description of what to do. And like on the schedule, we can see who it's assigned to, when it's due, budgeted, actual, variance on hours, percentage complete, status, priority, and whether or not it is involved in the schedule. We can see estimates and any revisions to those estimates related to this job. If there's multiple versions, they'll be available here. We can then see the financials. Function Point does have very robust financial management. And what this will show us is the job scope of work structure, how the job was built, what are the different items that need to be accomplished or tracked against in order to complete the job. I'm going to give a brief overview of what we're seeing here. Each of these items represents a service, and the level of detail that you choose when creating a job is up to you. Some users of Function Point will have jobs that consist of a single line item, perhaps called billable time, and they put all their timesheets against that single line item called billable time. They may create a more detailed and robust schedule, but the job's financial structure could be as simple as that. Others will break things down into different categories where they plan to put their time, perhaps also external expenses, whether that be creative work being done by a freelancer or printing you're purchasing or any other outside expenses that are related to the job. For each of these line items, we can then see the budgeted or the estimated hours, the value of those hours, the actual hours to date, so all the time that's been tracked to date, the value of that time of both a cost and a billable value, the variance between our estimate and our actual, how much we've invoiced the client so far, and finally a comparison here between the value of what we've invoiced so far and the value of the work that we've done. Showing us totals at the bottom, we can see that we estimated a $5,000 value or cost for this job, billable cost I should say. The actual value of the work that we've put in is $10,000. We've nearly doubled our budget. We've only invoiced the client just over $5,000. So the difference between the value of the work that we did compared to what we've invoiced is shown here. Now, depending on your access level in the system, you may not see this page at all. Furthermore, you may see this page, but you may not see all the information. We're able to, say, cut out dollar values, but perhaps still show the hours. You may want some staff people to see the hours, but not see the dollar values associated with that work. Also, if you have the access level required, you can drill in further and see where these values are coming from. Organized into timesheets that are not billed or billed, when they were entered, the initials of the staff person who entered them, the amount of time, the value, cost, and billable, and the description that was entered with the timesheet. And you can open this up into edit mode to make any adjustments, again, depending on your access level in the system. This is a powerful view and something that you'll see on many details pages in the system. Looking at a client, for example, will show you a job financials tab for all the jobs that you've done for them on one page. Moving along, we can then see our invoices. Invoicing is done in Function Point. Your invoices are actually created in the Function Point system and then synced with an external accounting program. If you're using programs such as QuickBooks or Simply Accounting, you may be using one of our middleware pieces of software. Function Point Accountant, for example, or FP Accountant as we refer to it, will connect Function Point with QuickBooks. We also have a tool that we work with that will allow Function Point to connect with Simply Accounting. If you're using something else, perhaps MYOB or Peachtree or Sage, there's also the option to export the data to a CSV, which will allow you to then import it into those accounting tools. Having the invoices in Function Point allows you to then look at a client or a job and see all their invoices, including the status, the total, the balance, and the date of the invoice. We can then also see files. In fact, I should talk a bit about the item that I just skipped over. If one of the tabs below, one of the relating tabs, does not have information in it, it'll be grayed out. It means that when you look at a page, you can immediately see where the data lies and where it doesn't. If there are no invoices, invoices will be grayed out and you will not access that area until you add one. Links is basically the opportunity to provide links to other websites, other programs, say for example a proofing tool like ConceptShare that you may wish to link into jobs in Function Point to either provide internal access to your staff people or access to clients that you're wanting to share proofs with. The Files tab is allowing you to organize a file folder structure, create a folder structure that works for you and organize files into them. And then reports. And these are specific to the job that we're looking at. Of course, you can find more system global reports in the reports section, but job-related reports will be found here as well. as well as the list view as we saw a bit earlier. And that's, the basics of the details page. Understanding the layout of this page and how you navigate through it will really assist you in understanding how to navigate through the function point system. If we look at another details page, let's say the company, for example, click on the company name, as I mentioned earlier, and it will navigate us directly to that company's details page. You'll notice on the company's details page that the layout is again the same. So we have our actions up along the top right corner, all the different actions we can take with this company. Specifics in the middle, info that you would expect, address information, phone, fax, web, other labels you may place on companies such as type or source, and also custom fields. Create as many custom fields as you'd like, and they could be text fields, they could be date fields of the calendar, they could be drop downs with predetermined values. We then have any relating information below. So like before, we have everything relating to the item that we're looking at, in this case a company. Therefore we can see every task we've ever sent for them, every job that we've ever done for this company will be available from this page. I mentioned earlier the Job Financials tab would be available here, and it is. And every job that we've ever done for this company will be available here. We just have the one. Perhaps what I'll do is I'll navigate to a company that has a bit more information. And you'll notice now that we're looking at a different company. And we could see a list of every single job that we've ever done for them, and all the values in the Financials tab. Estimated amounts, actual amounts, variance between the two, how much we've invoiced, and the value of the difference between what we've invoiced and the value of the work that we've done. And like before, we can drill into this. We can drill in further and see where these values are coming from, all the way down to the timesheet. Now let's take a look at some of those extra tools. We've gone through some of the basic navigation of the system. We've looked at the layout of the details pages and talked a bit about the consistency of those. I'm going to jump into some of the extra tools. I mentioned earlier that when we look at tasks, for example, there's a few extra items. One is our tasks and to-dos page. Now this is something that oftentimes, say, a project manager might be using quite a bit. What this allows us to do is see a list of all the tasks in the system and apply filters to those. For example, the selected staff. I may want to see all the tasks that are assigned to a couple of my senior designers. Select that, and it shows me all the tasks that are assigned to those two senior designers. There's quite a few of them. I may want to narrow this down. I may want to see only tasks that are related to a specific company. I want to see only tasks that are related to a client called Great Atlantic Insurance. If I type in part of that company's name and leave the field, it will narrow it down to just that company. But you can use any information. I could use the code, for example. If I don't want to type in the entire company name, but I know the company code, I might type in the company code, leave the field, and it narrows it down. I can use other things, titles, descriptions, any other information of the task. I might want to say, well, show me all the design-related tasks for these individuals. Narrows it down to all the design-related tasks. I can then see for each task the job it's for, who assigned it to them, who it's assigned to, when it's due, the budgeted actual and variance on hours, the percentage variance, this is representing the budget versus actual hours, priority, noticing that I don't have many priorities for these individuals, but you are able to, of course, include that, and the percentage complete. A percentage complete is something that is user defined. Say, for example, an individual is 73.3% of their budget, but they may only be 50% complete. And then, of course, the status of the task. Now, from here, we can then drill into any of these tasks. Clicking on one will navigate us into its details page. Clicking on the timer icon will allow us to make a timesheet against this task. If I click on the name of the task, as I mentioned, bringing us into the details page, and again, you'll notice the layout is the same. So we have our actions up along the top right corner, our specifics in the middle for the task, and our relating information below in these different tabbed inserts. Let's take a look at that second tool that was available there. It's called the resource link, and what this does is provides an overview of the availability of staff based on their work schedule and what's been assigned to them. Let's narrow this down here. We were talking a bit ago about those designers. Let's actually look at those designers. And what we'll see here is the role level and the individual beneath the role and their work schedule. So Anita here is working Monday through Friday, 8 hours a day, whereas Chris Wilson's working 7 hours on Fridays. Somebody works Tuesday through Saturday or half days on Wednesdays, and that will be represented here. If somebody's going on vacation, for example, or they're on leave for a while, then you'll see that as zero availability. And what we're seeing here is the gray time as unallocated time, or free time, time in a person's schedule that hasn't been booked. Green, I should say, is acceptable allocation, time that's been assigned to them that is within the amount of time that they have available. It's within the budget, and it's acceptable time. Red is overallocated time, cases where people have been assigned more work in a day than they have available to complete it. Anita here is overscheduled by 4 hours on the 1st. If we want to know what is making up this time, why is she overbooked, we can click on the box, and it will give us a list of the tasks that are making up that time. In this case, she has one task. She has a production task. It is for our holiday direct mail job, assigned by myself. We can see the description of what to do if one was entered, or perhaps update that description. We can see that this starts on the 1st and ends on the 2nd. The 2nd is a Saturday. Anita doesn't work on Saturday, therefore it's dropping all the time on the 1st. There's 12 hours in the budget to complete this, 0 actual hours against it so far, so the entire 12 hours is remaining on her schedule. Now we can make adjustments. I could say, well, let's allow her to start working on this, as early as, next Monday. And again, when you have a date field, typing in short forms will be accepted, but of course you can select from the calendar here if we prefer. Let's allow her to start working on this as early as the 28th. We'll submit that change, and it will adjust her allocation. And it will adjust her individual task page. It will adjust her dashboard, so she will see that change on her dashboard. Most often, however, this is really just meant as a visual aid. It's an opportunity to get a graphical view of the load balancing that you have on each person and allowing you to make better decisions when assigning new work. While you can make changes here, from one staff person to another, for example, or from the role to the individual, it's really, again, just meant as a visual aid and something that's supposed to assist you in understanding cases where you may be underutilizing somebody or a case where somebody might be overbooked. So that really concludes the overview that I wanted to provide today. Again, it's meant to be a high-level introduction to the system. If you are looking for something a bit more in-depth, or you're wanting to learn more about a certain area, please feel free to contact us. You can send me an email if you like. It's marc@functionpoint.com. Of course, you can always contact us at info@functionpoint.com as well. We'll get back to you that way. Let's see if we have any questions here. I didn't see any popping up, so I'm not sure if we had any that came through. I think that we are question-free today. I know it was pretty high level. We didn't get into many specifics, so I understand there not being any. But again, if any questions do pop up, if you are an existing Function Point user, please do feel free to contact your trainer or support. If you're not an existing Function Point user and you're interested in the system for your agency, again, send an email to info@functionpoint.com, or feel free to contact me directly, and I'll be happy to schedule a time for a live demo of the system as well to answer your questions in more detail. Just a quick reminder, we are doing these webinars every Wednesday. It is something that's, we have been doing on and off, but something that we're wanting to be a bit more consistent with. So, Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific time, ongoing webinar. At this time, we are planning them to be pretty high level, so something similar to what we've done today. But if requests are coming in for something that's a bit more specific, then we may cover some areas in more detail if some requests do come in. But again, Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, do please feel free to join yourselves or let others know. I'm noticing there has been a question that has popped up just in the last few minutes here. Question is there a limit to database size? Good question. There is no limit to the database size in the system, so there is no overall data limits, whether it be for files you're uploading or data you're entering into the system. There is no overall data limit. However, there is a per file size limit. The only data limit that ever applies in the system is the per file size limit of the files that you're uploading. That per file size limit is set to 50 megs, 50 megabytes as the per file size limit. Great. Well, thank you all again for your time. I do appreciate everybody taking the time to view the webinar. Again, looks as though Well, I thought we might have had another question there. Again, 11 a.m. Pacific time every Wednesday, we'll be conducting these, so do feel free to join in again. Thank you all again for your time, and have yourselves a great day. Take care.